Manx Radio Sport.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Saturday Sport Classified here on Manx Radio AM. So, FC Isle of Man end the season on a bang, and we'll be getting another roundup of what was gone on at the Bowl today with Rob Pritchard later in the programme. A big day for Manx Rugby too. Two big matches. We'll be giving you the results of those very shortly. Plus a big old day in football as well. Local football with the Hospital Cup and a couple of domestic league fixtures to tell you about as well. Coming up in a moment, it's a classified check. Tony Mepham will be joining us very shortly, and we'll be hearing from Dave Christian later in the programme about those rugby finals as well. But first of all, a check on today's score, starting with the Hospital Cup preliminary round. Onchan 3, St George's 3. That game went to penalties, and it was Onchan who won the spot kick shootout. St John's 10, Jims 1. Douglas High School All Boys 2, Douglas and District 1. Governess Athletic 0, Corinthians 6, Michael United 1, Peel 5, Ramsey Union Mills a late score, Ramsey Youth Centre Old Boys against Laxey also a late score, and the game between Braddon and Colby was postponed. Calendar Life Men's Premier League, Douglas Royal 1, Ayr United 2, and in DPS Limited Division 2, Foxdale 6, Douglas Athletic 1. Rugby and the Ravenscroft Manx Plate Final. Vagabonds 10, PDMS Southern Nomads 33. And the Ravenscroft Manx Cup Final, Douglas 23, Ramsey 14. And Dave Christian will be reporting on both of those big games around 5:45. First of all, though, I have to say hello, good evening, and welcome to Tony Mepham. Tony, no big shocks really today in the Hospital Cup?
No, it doesn't look that way. We're just waiting to confirmation of a couple of other scores that we know they were a bit one-sided, the scorelines that we were hearing, but we haven't had them confirmed. So we're just checking because we're concentrating on that Onchan against St George's. But no real shocks. A couple of big scores. Probably one was Douglas and District, who were leading against Douglas High School Old Boys for a while, but Old Boys got it back on track and took the victory. But the rest of them went as we expected, I think.
Okay. Well, let's start with that game, a dramatic game, Onchan against St George's. Onchan really out of form lately and really struggling at the bottom of the Premier Division. However, sometimes a cup victory can just give you that boost, and they left it. I think was it a last minute equaliser in extra time?
Last
kick, yeah, and then to go through on penalty. So they'll be celebrating tonight. They'll be feeling really good with themselves. St George's, though, they'll be feeling sick.
Yeah, they'll be buzzing, and when you look at the goal scorers for St George's, we'll come to that in a minute. They had a pretty strong team out, and I just expected St George's to sort of do well in this competition. But this is the beauty of the Cup, Dave, and it's gone against them because it was tight at half-time. It was Onken 0, St George's 0, and then St George's took a 2-0 lead in the second period. Chris Bass and Josh Kane were the two goal scorers, but then Onken pulled one back from Ethan Levers. I can't say the description of the goal because you can't say them words on radio, but I think the easiest way is an unbelievable great goal by Ethan Levers, and pull it back, give a lot more confidence to the team. And then Josh Kenyon came up trumps with the equaliser. 2-2 it was, and then we move into extra time. 3-2 it was to St George's in extra time. Sean Quay got the third goal, and then Paul Whitley with the last kick of the game to make it 3-3, and it went into a penalty shootout, and it was Onken who won on penalty. So congratulations to them, but I think they would have rather have had 3 points today, Dave, to make them climb up the league table. But this is the Cup, and Onken go into the hat later on.
Yeah, it's Onken and Old Boys in terms of the Premier League. It's not looking good for either side, is it, as things stand? But, you know, it looks as if Onken will be going back down to Division 2. But, however, you know, a good way to end the season would be a great Hospital Cup run.
Well, it would, but you don't really want that, do you? They want survival in that top flight.
But it's a 6-point gap to them around, you know?
And
with just one game in hand, you know?
Yeah, but there's still quite a few games to play, and, you know, Onken will keep chipping away. They've got some really good young players there, but it's that thing, isn't it, Dave, where you go down, it's then trying to get back up again. But I think Onken have got a good lot of young players coming through now, and I think it'll put them in good stead in years to come.
And what about St George's? You know, I mean, they look safe. You know, they're 11 points ahead of Onken in the table, even though they're fourth bottom. But you know, for them, they'd hoped that again a good cup run might just be something to play for. But that's I mean, they must be devastated.
Well, yeah, the way it's gone for them, and their thing is they're going to survive, but it's more to regroup and see where they go next year, because they certainly need to try and get a combination team going just to filter those players through, Dave, because great players that they are, Sean Quay, Chris Bass and others, but they've got young families and they're getting older, and commitments change, so we'll have to see how that one goes. But certainly today, when they were 2-0 up, you think, yeah, they're going to do it here. But for whatever reason, whether it was Onken's forward line pushing forward or just St George's switched off at the back, and it's cost them dearly, because to go down 2-0 up, then 2-2, and then 3-2 up, and then down that 3-3 line, and then in the penalty shootout, I don't know who's in goal, maybe Dave Cherry today, I'm not too sure, for St George's, but they couldn't stop the Onken forward line from getting the all-important penalties, and they go through into the next round.
That's the magic of the Cup. So, yeah, exciting times for Onken, because there's a new clubhouse being built, and are they moving from the stadium then? Are they moving to the Blackberry Lane?
No, as far as I know, they're not, because it's not going to be a full-size pitch. It's more of a junior pitch. But
right, okay.
Good facility, and then the pitch, whether they can make it bigger, I don't know. But certainly, well done to everyone involved in that. And, there's a lot of good young players coming through, and we'll just have to watch how it goes for them, because it's all right bringing the young players, Dave. As you know, it's keeping them, because suddenly university comes, so you miss out. Work commitments come, so you miss out. And also they change interests and maybe do something else.
That's good. So they will be still playing at Onken Park, I always call it. I know it's the Niverson Stadium, because it's a great location. Sometimes not the greatest pitch, but it's flat. But also because of other commitments with the park, they don't always get to use that pitch. So I thought maybe they'll be looking to maybe move away and find a permanent home. Because even in that, I think I remember back in the day, sometimes they used to play at Paul Rose, to fulfil their fixtures, because they couldn't have full access to their stadium.
Well, they're doing that at the moment, because what the plan was that, the stock cars have started now, and weekends, are busy up at the Onken Park. But during the week, you can sort of use it, so there's not a problem. But the stock cars on last Sunday, and from what I'm hearing, one or two of the cars have gone across the pitch and destroyed it. Okay. How true that is, I don't know. But at the moment, Onken are having to beg, steal and borrow. And today, where it should have been possibly have played at the stadium, it was played at St George's, so that sort of gives you a rough idea.
Yeah, okay. Looking down, we're still waiting for confirmation. Ramsey Union Mills, the last we heard was 6-1 to Ramsey. And Ramsey Youth Centre Old Boys against Laxey was the last we heard was 6-1 to Laxey. So we're just waiting for confirmation of those two results. You just touched upon this one before, a close game between Old Boys and Douglas and District.
Yeah, and it was. And, Douglas and District, when I saw the team of Old Boys, I thought to myself, they've got a great opportunity. There's a lot of players missing from Old Boys. And it was, there's nothing you could do. I think whatever it was, our birthday party or something on, and some of the players couldn't make it. But Douglas and District, Sam Tipper, who's quite lively up front for D&D, got the first goal to make it 1-0, and it was sort of steady for them. And it wasn't a classic game, that's for sure. It was pretty poor, to be fair. There weren't too many goal scoring opportunities, and it just looked as if D&D were going to sneak it. But then Chris Coxon managed to get a goal in to make it 1-1, and then the winner. I can only say that Darren Armstrong just took his eye off the ball because he was the goalkeeper, and Chris Coxon had hit it. It came into him. He went to collect it with his chest, and it just bounced up. And referee Rob Slinger was in a good spot, and he just said, ball over the line, and there's the winning goal for Douglas High School Old Boys, and finished up Old Boys 2, D&D 1.
Yeah, it looks like they'll be playing on a more regular basis next season.
Yeah, it does. And I think, to be fair, they'll keep fighting Old Boys, but I think they've accepted it now. And it's what the future holds for them as well, Dave, because a lot of those players are between 35 and 38. So they need younger players in. There are some good young players coming through. I saw that today. It's going to help them. But certainly the amount of players that they are going to lose, possibly through that age band, could sort of affect them. But they might just give it another year in Division 2 if they're relegated, and just see how things go and try and bring some young bucks, if you like, in, because that's what they need, a bit of energy in there.
You always like a little chat with whoever's around up there. I mean, did you get an idea what the feeling is around the club, and obviously what's been a disappointing season for them? Yeah,
I think a lot of it goes down to that they've got no junior sides up there, so there's no sort of players to feed into the club, Dave. But I think, Colin Burvis took over the manager's job. Tommy Miller's there coaching, and, Colin's, got a great footballing head on him, but, there's other good coaches up there as well who could sort of maybe get involved and try and develop. But it's always been a happy club, Old Boys, and they're all mates. They all knock round together and everything. But the problem is they've all aged together. And you can just see today, Chris Coxon, you've got Liam Buckley, Martin King's, still fit. He does good things. But you've got Dean France who's in there, and you've got Robbie Ward, who's not old, but he's 33, 34. So you're still at that age band where you need to start finding some others. And I think Daniel Gellin's been a great signing for them, but he didn't play today. And it's a rebuild job. They know that. And they've got a lot of good things there at Old Boys, the clubhouse, pitch, everything's there. So it's just attracting the players and come and play for Douglas High School Old Boys.
One of the biggest names in Manx football. I mean, I remember was it the 80s?
Late 80s.
Yeah, they were.
90s.
What a team they had, around then, and dominating Manx football. I mean, the thing though, Douglas and Districts have only won a quarter of their league games. They've won 4 in 16, and Old Boys are just managing to scrape past them today. I would suggest that doesn't bode well for a return, next season, assuming they do go down, that they'll come straight back up. It looks like they'll be more of a mid-table, unless, as you say, they can find that kind of balance between youth and, what's the word I'm looking for? Experience, that's the word, yeah. For next season. Yeah, it is, and I think Old Boys know that, and it's always a little bit of a tough or a tall order to try and return back in. And when you look at, probably Onken may be relegated with them, which would be a shame, the amount of work that they put in. But Onken look as if they could, they could bounce back next season.
Definitely, definitely. And the atmosphere and everything at Onken Football Club is absolutely amazing. But who's going to get promoted? It looks like some areas are going to get up there. Yeah. Castletown might just miss out. But after that...
Yeah, Castletown, I think, they're 11 points behind Michael and played a game less. So it's going to take Michael collapsing and Castletown winning everything, I think.
It is. And I think, Michael's taste today, Michael were playing against Peel, just shows, where they are with it all. But I credit to Michael. I think it's amazing what they've done this season.
Brilliant.
And, unfortunately today we've got a little bit of news. We'll bring it in on it. There were a few players missing, but they've, done everything right. And if Michael do miss out and Braddon get that second spot, because I think it's a 4, but maybe a 3 horse race, and that's St Mary's. You've got Castletown in there, you've got Braddon, and also Michael.
Ramsey Youth Centre.
Ramsey Youth Centre.
They've played a lot of games, though. It looks beyond them, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a big ask.
Yeah. So okay, yeah. Well, let's talk about Michael United, because they, for many years, they were whipping boys, even in the second division, and they put up a great performance today against the league champions, going down 5-1. But you think they can draw a lot from that result, certainly in terms of the performance, I should say.
Well, potentially Peel are going to be the Cannon Life Premier League champions. And, the goal scorer today for Michael, it was Michael 1, Peel 5. Nathan Farragher got the goal for Michael, but news from the Michael camp was a good performance from a Michael side, missing league regulars. 16-year-old combination player Nathan Farragher scoring after 3 players step up from the combination side to fill the gaps against Premier League top side. Michael had chances, but Peel had the quality. And just to even it up, when we look at Peel today, Michael United 1, Peel 5. Matthew Woods with a hat-trick. Well done, Matthew. Rhys Oates got 1 and Daniel Pickering. Peel made 5 changes from last time out against Onken. Heavy rain throughout first half, finally cleared by the interval. Heavy pitch. Michael battled hard in the first half and got back to 2-1 after 37 minutes through, when Matthew Woods headed in the second of his 3 goals in the first minute of the second half. The result was never in doubt. So that's Peel's view as well from that game today.
When are we going to get the draw for the next round?
We're going to do it tonight. I've got a bit of
okay.
I've got it all here, Dave. I'm going to sort it out, so hopefully we'll speak to Rob, because with that Onken result just coming in, we like to put it in alphabetical order, so we'll just suss it all out, and we'll do it later on.
Excellent. Okay, who's doing the draw?
You.
Right, okay. So Governors Athletic against Corinthians. I mean, you would not, even the bookies would not have given you anything on this before the game, and as it turned out, 6-0 to Corinthians.
Yeah, it was, and the man at the moment who can't stop scoring is Drummondton. He's absolutely terrific. He's in good form, and I think it was 3 goals today, maybe 4 for him. We're just waiting for confirmation on that one, but terrific performance by him. And Connor Clark, he's only just turned 16, about 3 weeks ago. He got 1, and Chester Bell. So there's 3 outstanding young players coming through into the Corinthians camp, and they all had a play or a part to play on Thursday's Cal Cup results as well. But Governors Athletic, they'll be happy enough with that result against the team who are still in with a chance of winning that league, Dave, but I can't see it. I think that defeat against St John's has cost them, but they'll keep having a go at it. But today it just showed what future starlets are coming through that Corinthians camp, and certainly Joe, he's absolutely flying.
Okay. St John's against Jim's. St John's smashing 10 past Jim's.
Yeah, if you could text us through, I've tried to get the old goal scorer, and thanks to Ed, he's just come through to say that it was 4 goals for Joe. So certainly today St John's, Callum Taggart with 4 goals, touched on at lunchtime, because I think Dean Lees is out at the moment. Harry Rothwell got 2. That's all I've got at the moment, but the final score was St John's 10, Jim's 1.
So the games we're still waiting for, I can tell you, with the Laxey game, the last we heard, it was 6-1 to Ramsey Youth Centre. Sammy Gelling scored the opener for Laxey. Charlie Robinson then made it 2. Brodie Patience with a penalty made it 3-0. Charlie Robinson got his second of the game for Laxey to make it 4-0. And then Sammy Gelling got another to make it 5-0. Youth Centre pulled one back. And then Brodie Patience again made it 6-1, and that's the last we heard. We don't have confirmation of a full-time score, but it does look, I think it's safe to say, that Laxey have gone through to the first round.
Yeah.
And the other one that we were waiting on was Ramsey against Union Mills. And I do have some scorers from this game, but the thing that I don't have is the full-time score. So just to tell you what was going on.
It was 6-1.
It was, which one?
It was Ramsey against Union Mills 6-1.
So it was Cooper scored on 25 minutes.
Liam, yeah.
And then Duggan on 34.
Chris Duggan, yeah.
And then Blissett on 41.
Yep.
And Tatar
Durham
made it 4-0 on 44. And then Blissett made it 5 on 55. And Montgomery with the 6th goal of the game for Ramsey.
Okay.
Don't have a Mill scorer. So, and the game between Braddon and Colby was postponed.
Yeah, we'll look to arrange that one. We'll have a look at the fixtures tonight. Braddon have got a game. Colby have got a game next week. I think Braddon have as well. So we need to keep this cup competition running. So we'll have a little look and maybe a few tweaks to do.
Braddon, that was the pitch, I take it, with the weather?
Yeah, and fair play to Braddon. It's like Ramsey. Ramsey had problems this morning and had the boys on with the folks spiking the pitch and said, fingers crossed it'll clear, and it did. With Braddon, same sort of situation, but the referee, it was who called it in the end. The referee came down, inspected it. Right way to do it, I think. This club's calling it off. I think if your pitch is 50-50, let the referee make the decision.
So there was one game in the Canada Life Men's Premier League today, and that was a 2-1 victory for Ayr United. It doesn't do anything to the table. They still remain in 8th place. They're just a point now behind Laxey St John's and Ramsey. But yeah, a 2-1 win away at Douglas Royal. And Douglas Royal, who pretty much safe anyway, bottom half of the table, but it looks like Royal will be in the Premier League again next season. Yeah,
Royal are fine, and there are a few players missing there today. I'm not too sure who got Douglas Royal's goal, 166, 177, if you can, please. But for Ayr United, he's still flying, isn't he? Nick Hurt with 2. I think it was 1 in each half, to be fair. So a good 3 points that for Ayr. Douglas Royal will be disappointed because they've had a good run of late, good result last week against Ramsey, but today they couldn't overcome Ayr.
And Foxtel with a 6-1 win in DPS Limited Division 2 against Douglas Athletic. This game was a home fixture for Foxtel, but it wasn't played at Billy Goat Park.
Correct. It was moved to Douglas Athletic. The pitch wasn't fit, and I haven't got any goal scorers on that one, so if you can, 166, 177.
It's a shame about Billy Goat Park because it does seem to have these issues. It's a brilliant location. I mean, I remember playing there many years ago. It's... I think that everything about it is great, but they just seem to have it. I mean, we're going 20-odd years now, 25 years, and we just seem to still have these issues with their pitch up there.
Yeah, it is, and they've tried everything. You mould draining it, spiked it, and everything else, and whether it's just in the area that it is. But there's quite a few pitches this year that you think are good, and they've struggled a little bit. We've had a lot of rain and stuff like that, but the boys are always looking to improve it, and it's tough, but it just means that Foxdale miss out quite a bit on fixtures.
Yeah.
And then suddenly at the end of the season, they're chasing the tail, and at the moment they've got Shedload's first team and combi to play.
Is there an argument? I mean, I know it's an expensive argument. I mean, we see it in Scotland. I mean, I know Scotland is Scotland, but it's not that far away from us, and yet so many clubs, I mean, professional, semi-professional clubs up there play on artificial pitches. Is that even a half, part artificial? Is there something that, again, I know there's a lot of expense, but is this something that should be explored?
Well, we've got the bowl down there, which is 3G, but you're mega money now,
exactly,
Dave, because we were looking at Corinthians to maybe develop something up there, whatever, with Douglas Royal and maybe Vagabonds, but that's gone by the wayside now because...
I mean, what kind of figures are we talking roughly? I won't hold you to it, but what kind of ballpark figure are you looking at?
I think originally, before COVID, you're probably talking over $1 million.
What?
I would say now.
What?
Yeah. Now you're...
But that was for those 3 pitches? Or
one
for
pitch,
one pitch?
Just
one pitch?
One pitch. Because you've got to dig it up, you've got to put the drainage in, then you've got to put the mat in, then you've got the railings around it, and there's no point in having a 3G pitch if you haven't got floodlights.
Yeah.
Floodlights, you're talking 80 to 100k. So there you go. Yeah.
And in terms of that being kind of real estate, it's probably worth more than $1 million as well. I know you wouldn't, but if you were to sell the Corinthians and Royal pitches, and they were going to build houses on that, you earn a fortune,
Yeah. That'd be the government though, because
I say, but that's what I'm saying in terms of the value of those areas. Yeah. It's crazy.
It'd be great because I know the clubs up there have got long leases on that land, but it is there primarily for the health. As far as I know, not the DHSS, whoever it is now, they own it, and Sports Council sort of run it for them, for us, and the land is there because that originally, Dave, was where the prison was going to go, new prison, before it went up to Derby. So the clubs have been blessed with that, but the clubs are always looking to improve for their own sort of players, And whether rugby would have come into it, I'm not too sure, because 3G is you don't see many rugby teams playing on that, but certainly Corinthians were keen to develop it, and Douglas Royal, I'm sure, would have wanted to improve their club, but the money was
mad.
Absolutely
I was expecting
huge.
6 figures, but I certainly didn't expect 7.
Oh yeah, over a mil. Well, I remember someone else, I won't say who it was, who was looking to do it at a professional club in England, and he just gave us a rough idea what sort of money they were getting into, and it was just short of $1 million. And they own the land, and you could see the benefits for them. With us, it's totally different.
Is there an argument in a way then, like with say like Foxdale and other teams, to complete their fixtures down at the Bowl?
You could do, but then it's down to the cost when you're looking at, I don't know what it is now, £180, £200 to pay to have a game there. It's a lot of money, and you want your home ground. That's where you want to play, and with other clubs are right the way round who sort of struggle a little bit. It's just you do what you do, or you do what you can, and to run a football club, Dave, is a lot of money now. And this is why you're always chasing players for subs and having functions and sponsorship or whatever to try and pay the bills. And I'll tell you what now, I think there's 13 clubs that rely on TT. And without that, Dave, I certainly, when we started at Ballafletcher, we had all these bills coming in and no money to pay them because we paid such a chunk to have the facility. And then suddenly we had to start camping, and the camping keeps us going. And it's the same for the other 12 clubs, I'm sure.
It's funny, just I used to play Sunday morning football, and we used to rent pitches from Douglas Council, etc. And we used to rent Peel School out there. The pitch isn't there anymore now. Do you know how much that used to cost us on a Sunday morning? £4.
Wow.
£4. I think the council, the Douglas Corporation back then, we might have paid £15-20 or something to have the pitch on a Sunday morning up at Groves Road.
Yep.
But so there you go. So £4 to 180, but obviously different facilities. And even that's the thing. I don't even know whether we still have. Back then, we had quite a vibrant Sunday morning. Different pubs and clubs and businesses had their own teams and would play on a Sunday morning. I don't even know if that still goes on the island.
The only senior football we've got on a Sunday now is the ladies, the women.
Yeah, but I know this wasn't FA. This would be certain businesses, not the business league. It would just be pubs and clubs having their own. But anyway,
I would say that would be. Way down now, I would think.
I've don't even hear of that anymore. But anyway, so there we go. Right, we've got tomorrow. We've got a lot of football, as you just said. There's plenty of football going on tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll look ahead to the Ascot Hotel Junior Cup. What time are we doing the draw for the Hospital Cup?
I've got to collate it yet, so
Okay.
I've got to get the sheet here together. So
we'll do it while the
we'll do it
rugby
later on.
while the rugby's on.
And we're going to speak to Rob.
Yeah, and then we'll do that, and we'll get everything together, and we'll do the Hospital Cup draw, pushing 6 o'clock.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Just so people know. Ascot Hotel Junior Cup preliminary round tomorrow. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fixtures to get through. The pick of the bunch.
The one I'm looking at is the top of the sheet, which is Russian
against Laxey.
Yeah, Russian against Laxey. The only reason I say that is because look at the league tables, combination 1. Russian are still undefeated, and they received their
undefeated. They've won every game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they've got the trophy now, and they're looking for the second piece of silverware, and this is where it all starts. And it's full on, because when you look at it, the Junior Cup, you lose 8 or 9 teams tomorrow. And then the following week you lose another 8 teams. So within 8 days you've lost a chunk of the league, and it's just ding dong now to the end of May. But certainly Russian will be a big game for them, and it's a home tie as well. So Laxey are going to have to try and work the socks off, try and get something out of them.
Peel are playing Gyms.
That's gone. One, Gyms, unfortunately, Dave can't field the team.
Oh, right, okay. And I want to talk about that later in the programme. Yep. So that's an away win already. So then looking further down the league table, Ramsey at Douglas and District.
Yeah, you'd go for Ramsey.
Yeah.
Ramsey got a pretty strong combi.
Yeah.
And D&D, I think, will find it tough against them.
And then we have, is it St John's are playing tomorrow as well? Is it? No. It is Ramsey Youth Centre Old Boys against Union Mills.
Yeah, and this one here, when you look at Ramsey Youth Centre, the second, third in combination 2, I know you can't really go from that because it's a mixture of first team and combi second. Yeah, Malua in there as well. But Ramsey Youth Centre have the capability of doing well in this competition. They've got some good young players in there, and Union Mills, I know they're a league above them.
Yeah, but bottom of combination
exactly.
one with 2 wins all season. They've only picked up 6 points.
Exactly. I think Youthy have got a big chance here.
Yeah, they've got a very, very good chance. You mentioned, again, a very similar situation with Malou against Moran. Moran towards the... Even though they're 4th bottom, they've still, picked up a decent amount of points this season. So
Malou
they're certainly... and then Malou, well, they're all... St Mary's, Ramsey Youth Centre, Old Boys and Malou are all tied on the same number of points at the top of combination 2.
Yeah, and St Mary's have got the trophy because they won it on goal difference on Wednesday.
Yep.
So well done to them. But this is another good game in prospect because Malou have done well in combination 2 elsewhere with Moran. They've got a good combination. I know there's a couple of older players in there, but certainly they'll be looking to go through. And good Cal Cup side as well. So I'm going to go for Moran to beat Malou.
And we've not mentioned, really, I mean, you could say Russian Laxey, but the other possibility, arguably the tie around, Ayr United against Corinthians. I mean, they're kind of locked together, 5th and 6th in the table. There's about 9 points between them. United are 5th, Corinthians 6th, but that could go either way.
It could. I'm going to go for Corinthians. You wouldn't expect anything different. But I just look at Corinthians' team. I know that they're missing 1 or 2 that have qualified because Corinthians tomorrow have got a semi-final in the Masters Cup, and 1 or 2 of the players there, I don't know if both will play, but certainly one of them just loves playing in the Masters football and only helps the combination out when he can. But he's qualified for the Junior Cup, so it's his choice. No pressure from me to see if which game he's going to play in tomorrow.
And Douglas Royal against Braddon?
I would say this is going to be another good game as well because Douglas Royal have got some good young players in there, but a few older wise heads. But Braddon, like the first team, have got some really good young players coming through. And, I don't know who has qualified to play for Braddon, but Braddon, I think he'll just win it.
Okay. We have the Calendar Life Women's FA Cup semi-finals tomorrow. It would have been, if Douglas Royal hadn't been drawn at home to Braddon in the Junior Cup, we would have had both games played either side up at Ballafletcher. But as it is, Corinthians will kick off at 2 o'clock at Ballafletcher. They're at home to Peel. So champions versus second in the league. And the other fixture, Douglas Royal against Malou, is taking place up at the Bowl, is it?
That's being played at the Bowl.
Yeah.
It's 3:40 kick-off and straight after the Masters game. But, Douglas Royal couldn't field the team last week, so hopefully they can field the team this week. But Malou had a cracker result. I think you went and watched it,
I was
Dave.
there. Yeah, I was there.
How'd it go?
Yeah, it was... Malou were fantastic. The difference between the two teams, Malou far fitter than Onken. Obviously, they play hockey as well, but even so, it's still no excuse, really. Malou were much fitter, and they played the ball out of defence much better than Onken did as well.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, they're very similar sides in terms of, I think, with talent. Both sides have got very talented players. You could argue that Onken have the more talented players. 3 or 4 of them are really, really good and would fit in, would get a game in a Corinthians or Peel team, I think. But, just on the day, certainly the first half anyway, Malou, absolutely fantastic. And kicking up the slope as well. 2-0. In fact, they were 2-0 up, dominating, and then Kaylee Callow scored a great goal. In fact, it was one of those. She played a pass forward into the box, and the Malou defence held their positions to play the Onken girls offside, the Onken forward line, and they didn't move to expecting the Onken girls, the Onken forwards to go for the ball, but they left it as well. So Kaylee then chased her own pass, picked it up in the penalty area and just drilled it into the corner. Fantastic goal. And as I say, some of the Malou girls would say, offside. No, it was her own through ball, so it was good. So 2-1, and that gave Onken, something to go for in the second half, and they did, and they were much, much better in the second half. Really, really good. But however, Malou went further ahead 3-1, and then Onken pulled it back to 3-2, and it was all misty around the pitch as well. It was really kind of an eerie kind of atmosphere. And just as you're thinking, Onken could maybe get back into it, then unfortunately they had a defender sent off. It was a professional foul. It was just misjudged. There was no malice in there at all. But the Malou forward was taken out, and unfortunately, she had to go. And then not long after, Malou got the fourth and made it 4-2. And good luck to them tomorrow against Douglas Royal. But that was, you were saying, I mean, Douglas Royal was supposed to play Corinthians last week.
Yes.
Douglas, and it's the second time, I think, in the league. It may have been another. I know this is the second time Douglas Royal were due to play Corinthians and they couldn't field a team.
Yeah.
Now, is there an argument that there should be some kind of punishment for not being able to field a team? Same with Jim's tomorrow with the Junior Cup. If they can't get a team together,
they're out of the competition.
But but again, certain players. I know some of the Corinthians girls were really looking forward to last week, and I think it was just about an hour or so, maybe even less.
Long.
Yeah, before the game was kicked off. Everyone's looking forward to it, and then they don't get a game. Surely, a points deduction. I mean, or a fine. You don't really want to fine clubs, but there must be something that can be done to address this. Because also as well, with me not being with Manx Radio for many years, but being back 20 years ago, it was teams not being able to field teams was you never heard of it 20 years ago, but now it just seems to be more and more frequent. It's and I know it's something that you don't just sit there and but there must be something we can do in Manx football to make sure that doesn't happen.
I'd love to know, Dave, but
I know.
It's changing times, and when you look at it now, before, not so many people on a Saturday would go away and watch their teams play in the UK. It happens now. They get on the boat and they go off. Work commitments have certainly changed, Dave.
But we've got an increased population as well. We've got more people living here than we did 20 years ago. So you'd think maybe...
They're not under 30.
But you'd think that was an argument for, that there might even be more teams, but...
Well, when you look at the numbers that are playing football, junior level, they're up.
Yeah.
Senior level, they're on par with last season. They've not dropped. People keep saying, no one's playing. Yeah, teams are struggling for players, but it's certain teams. When you look over the past 3 or 4 years, we've had this conversation before. Castletown have bounced back. Pulrose have got one team at the moment. St Mary's have bounced back. You've got Malou, you've got Douglas Athletic, Governors Athletic with only one team. It's one of them, Dave, where sometimes it goes for you and sometimes it goes against you. But we're there as the Isle of Man Football Association to provide football for everybody who wants to play football at whatever it may be, and that's what we try and do. And then it's up to the clubs to try and get the players in to make up their team and then to play in the competition. But we don't take points off them now. We just award the game to the opposition. We can fine them. We're not there.
No, I know. No one's to fine, but there must be something that that would. It's just too easy to go. Oh, we can't field a team, and especially in a game that we could be argued. You think, well, we're not going to win anything in this. What's the point? Yeah. They're looking against a strong team. If you're a struggling second division team against a top first division team, as an example, and you think, what's the point in going and getting turned over?
Yeah.
But there's got to be something we can do.
I don't know, Dave. We work on things all the time at the FA, and we've given the opportunity of a working group to sort of connect, if you like, on the firing line for women's football.
For women's football, yeah.
We've tried that, and we've nurtured, if you like, Castletown. We have, because Castletown, most games haven't had sufficient players. And we've tried to nurture them through the season, and hopefully they can be built on. But it's difficult, Dave. We don't have all the answers, but certainly the problems aren't caused by us. It's players' work commitment and family commitments, health commitment, everything else. You just lose. I know. I manage the Corinthians Masters team. Some weeks I've got loads, and other weeks they're doing things, and that's it. You have to take it.
Okay, and so big. We'll come back to women and what have you again in a moment, but we got the Masters FA Cup semi-final tomorrow, Colby against Corinthians. Yeah,
this will be a good game. Colby have won the league. They had a great battle at Colby, and it finished up 1-1. But this one's played at the Bowl, so it's a good surface. Masters football this year has been really good because, there's a bit of quality out there. Some of the younger players have come in. I know what they're going to say is, well, they should be playing combination football. They haven't got the time. When I look at mine, we've got one, I think, that, he plays first team for St John's. But the rest of them just turn up once a fortnight, play with the mates, and then they go back to the families for another 2 weeks. And that's what happens. They just haven't got the time to give to play combination football. So it's going to be a super game. There's a lot of to and froing because There's a few players that play for Russians Junior Cup. There's a few that play for Corinthians Junior Cup. They've got to sort out with their managers or their mates in the team to see who's going to play tomorrow. But both clubs will give it all and try and get into the final to play against Doncaster the week after.
Okay, we'll be going to Dave Christian in around 5 minutes to find out what happened in the, if you don't know already, in the rugby finals today. The Isle of Man, Blaine Slattery named his squad for Guernsey this week. We heard a couple of weeks ago the Wayne Lissey's women's squad for going away. The women's one is interesting. If I've understand this correctly, on their build up for the games in Guernsey, I think they've got 3 trips going away. So how does so the thing is, I know it's expensive to send a team to Guernsey, but this looks like even more expense. And is I'm guessing obviously it's going to be money worth spending. 3 trips off island to prepare for the games. Yet you'd think maybe we could prepare cheaper and have more money for the women's team at the games, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Let's have a look at this one here. They've had nothing over the last, really, apart from the Airbus trip, they've had nothing. So we've always had money set aside for, games.
Yeah.
Preparation. People aren't going to travel to the Isle of Man, at the moment. So we're travelling away. There's no overnight stays involved. So it's basically on the boat at 7:30 in the morning, play the game, and hopefully get back to the boat to get the boat back. We've had assistance from the Isle of Man steam packet because there is people involved with the steam packet. Without their help, it wouldn't have happened, Dave.
All right, brilliant.
So we appreciate what Isle of Man steam packet have done. Also, Canada Life, with them sort of assisting the women's football, it takes the financial pressure off us a little bit, which again allows us to do. Plus, we've dipped into general funds, which we've had to, because what's the point in entering a competition that are limited for the men and the women without preparing them, A, and B, letting them play? Now, these players are paying, Dave, just under £1,000
I know that.
to play in Guernsey. So the Isle of Man Football Association, even though it's 3 trips, they're the cheapest way you could have done it.
Perfect, because people will look at that and go, hang on a minute, how does that work? So I'm glad you've explained that, because it does certainly seem very, reasonable and very valid, and a great way to prepare. Because also, especially with the women, they stand a great chance of winning the gold.
Definitely. You're looking at gold or silver. Gold in Anglesey. It wasn't the Island Games, but it was near enough an Island Games as far as I'm concerned. But it's funny, at the start of the competition, you saw, or the start of the Guernsey run-up, if you like, and Wayne coming in, is the women were there, but it wasn't there. Now they're full on. They're training every week, and they couldn't be prepared any better. And I think the players have
they've got a great balance of experience and youth that we mentioned earlier.
Massive. And, there's still 1 or 2 jewels missing. When you look at, players that could have quite easily been there. Sarah Riley one, I know she's
Emily
not playing
Rawlins
anymore. Emily Rawlinson can't commit. And then when you look at Jay Burden, who's doing a boxing, Shannon Groves can't go because she's just hiked up Everest. You get it all, but
there's still depth in that squad.
It's great in there, and now it's up to Blaine as well. Blaine's is a little bit different because his next friendly is Carnforth the 20th of May, and that's his only one.
Wow.
So it's not ideal preparation for Blaine, but what can he do? Because we're so far behind with our fixtures.
Yeah.
We said to him, Blaine, there's nothing here. We can't do anything. We've got to keep going. We're still looking to play the Railway Cup from Boxing Day.
Wow, that's incredible. But and are you going to Guernsey?
I'm not going to Guernsey.
Right.
I decided to dip out just purely financially for the FA. It wouldn't be right for me to go. I don't play.
Yeah,
I just wash kits and chase around and whatever. So Sean and Simon will do a good job on that.
Excellent. Okay, so they're in action, I think, the Isle of Man women next week at Accrington Stanley. So,
Yeah, and that's a big game. We'll get more information on that one. I know Rob will be doing some interviews, but certainly that came out superbly. It's great timing for them. They're playing on the big ground. And
there's a lot going on as well. If I know, I've been reading about it this week. There's a lot actually going on at the stadium. There's a lot of events and things. It's not just a football match. I think there's a big charity event going on and all sorts of manner of things going on. So
it's going to be superb.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. So, okay, we're coming up to 5:45. You're listening to Saturday Sport Classified here on Manx Radio AM. We've still got the Hospital Cup draw to come. But first of all, let's have the latest on the rugby with Dave Christian.
Manx Radio Sport.
Yep, Manx Cup final day. It's the traditional end of the Isle of Man domestic rugby season. We had two fixtures down at Portishead this afternoon. The Ravenscroft Manx Plate was the precursor to the big game, the Ravenscroft Manx Cup. In the Plate game, it was Vagabonds 10, PDMS Southern Nomads 33. A great win for Nomads, 5 tries to 2 all in all, and the Manx Plate headed south again tonight. After the final, Ori Watterson and Tony Quinn both crossed for Nomads in the first half. Mark Young converted one of those, but before half-time, Vagabonds had struck back. Connor Gauchi went in for the try, and that left Nomads 12-5 in front at half-time. In the second half, Quinn picked up his second 10 minutes in, and from the restart, Nomads captain George Collister went over for Nomads again. Mark Young converted both, and from being 12-5 down, Vagabonds was suddenly 26-5 down. With 10 minutes to go, Harry Brereton removed any doubts when he went in for Nomad's fifth and final try, which Mark Young converted. Phil Bryson did pull one back for Vagabonds in the closing stages, but it wasn't enough to deny Southern Nomads the win, and they retain the Manx Plate. They'd won it last season. In the Manx Cup final, a slightly different affair. Game was played at a bit of a quicker pace, and it was Douglas who come out with the win, beating Ramsey 23 points to 14, with wing Sam McCord picking up 2 tries in the final to go with the 5 he scored against Vagabonds last week. McCord finished off a Kyle Martin break to put Douglas ahead in the 6th minute, with Luke Hyland adding the conversion. Brandon Atchison went 75 metres for a breakaway for Ramsey and converted his own try to level the scores at 7 apiece. But 2 penalties late in the first half from Jack Shimmin and Luke Hyland saw the team's turnaround with Douglas 13-7 in front. McCord picked up his second just after half-time to extend the Douglas lead, and Rob Todd, the Douglas captain, was shunted over from a line-out drive to put them 23-7 in front, and looking pretty much in charge at that stage with about 15 minutes or so to play. In the closing stages, Luke Hyland picked up a yellow card for a high tackle. That allowed Ramsey back into the game, and with just under 5 minutes to go, Dan Richmond sneaked in for a Ramsey try from a quickly tapped penalty. Brandon Atchison converted, but Ramsey couldn't add to their tally in the time remaining, and Douglas ran out deserved winners. They had much better possession and territory all through the game. They managed the game really well, particularly in those last 5 minutes. They just didn't give Ramsey a sniff of the ball, kept it tight in the forwards, and Ramsey unable to get the possession they needed to try and get their quick men away into the Douglas backline, which were short on numbers with Hyland in the sin bin. So congratulations to Douglas, congratulations to Southern Nomads. The silverware at Portishead this year, the Ravenscroft Manx Cup, Douglas captain Rob Todd picked that one up, and Nomads captain George Collister earlier on lifted the Ravenscroft Manx Plate. And that brings the curtain down on the Isle of Man domestic rugby season for this year.